Oh my God, it's the Talking Normies podcast. Today we're doing Birdbox and we're doing A Quiet Place. These movies are very similar but have a lot of different unique things to them, and we're going to get into it and talk about it. So, with that being said, let's get it. Talking Normies podcast. All right. So we got a whole new roster today, a different lineup. You know we like to keep it fresh. Right across from me we have...
AJ Shannon.
Oh my God. Ketty corner to me, we have.
This is Marketa. Hello.
Oh. And right over here next to me, to the left, we got.
Pat.
Oh, the button even didn't work. All right, we got. Pat is the most talkative normie, as you guys know, so it's going to be really fun having him here on the show. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to give a brief synopsis of the two movies, and then I guess we're going to talk about it. I had some questions written, and those questions are on my phone, so I'll be looking briefly at my phone for that. But Bird Box is a Netflix movie in which Sandra Bullock is trying to get these two kids called boy and girl to a safe place. In that movie, there is some mysterious thing happening, not to be confused with The Happening, and if you see said mysterious thing, it will make you want to kill yourself, unless you're crazy person already, then you won't. And then A Quiet Place is a 2017 movie. That's not 2017. A Quiet Place is a 2018 movie where
Surge.
Is boy.
yeah, Surge as boy. Quiet Place is a movie where there are aliens on the planet and they are hypersensitive to hearing, and if you make a sound, these aliens will swoop up on you and ultra kill you. And that's it. And it's about a family struggling to, survive essentially, but they're already surviving. This is just kind of like an ordeal that they're having. The mom's pregnant and they're trying to have this baby and things keep going wrong. So that's it. Those are the two movies. As you can tell, they are similar in that you have to lose a sense in order to survive. But with that being said, let's get into these questions. Does anybody want to go first while I pull up my question? Because even though I wrote them, I don't have them at hand. I usually print them off, but I didn't want
What are we supposed to be doing? Going first on?
So
I was confused at first because I was thinking, is being quiet a sense?
Well,
It's
talking.
hearing.
You can't.
You can't
You
talk.
can still
can't.
hear.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I guess you're losing a sense, but you just have to use your senses in a way. You're not losing the ability to make sound. You just shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was just.
Or I guess it's
Threw me
communication.
off a little bit. Yeah.
It's
Because
communication.
we thought, yeah. Okay.
So the first one is, what's the strongest part of each film to you? Like, what in these movies do you think that they both nail solidly? AJ, you want to start us off?
I can do that for you.
Oh my God, thank you.
All right. So for The Quiet Place, I'm going to say the strongest point for me was the story in which the main mission for the parents are to protect their kids.
Yeah.
I think it does that in a lot of ways. Should I explain those?
I mean, you should explain those ways.
All right.
This is a podcast where details is.
I think it's really cool that the dad, even after death, and having in trying to create a hearing aid for his daughter, eventually and that's what ends up saving her.
Yeah.
And the family at the end. So it really goes to show how much he loved his daughter, and it was his daughter. It was the love that he had for his daughter that ended up saving all of them, and figuring out the weakness to the entire alien species.
Yeah.
So I think that was the strongest point for me.
And as we're going, I think first let's all talk about the strong point in A Quiet Place, and then we'll do Bird Box, and then we'll move on to the next question. So,
Right
Ketty
on.
Wap.
I personally really like movies that start from the middle, and then you have to use your deduction to kind of figure out, what happened in the past that led the people to the struggle that they're dealing with. And Quiet Place did exactly that for me personally, and I really, really enjoyed that as compared to, Bird Box, where you are kind of, you start with the event, and then you are following the aftermath, which worked just fine for that movie. I just really enjoy kind of, using my own deduction during a movie. And then other than that, I think that the concept of an alien invasion that is just like every time we imagine that if we get invaded by aliens, that they will be much more developed than us technologically. But these are literally just parasites that got to the planet through a meteorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meteors.
Oh, okay.
It's just so bizarre, and like the fact that they're just like very simple organisms, if I must say that.
Yeah.
And they just completely dominated over the planet.
They're like advanced bats.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So,
that's intriguing to me.
I would
Pat,
like
what do you
to
got?
say,
What do you got? What's up?
Since I guess 2 points. The second point is like the sound, the way that they used sound
Yeah.
in that movie.
Because sound is integral to film.
Yeah, I was eating pork rinds. I like to bring my own food. I was eating pork rinds during that movie.
You're loud as fuck.
I stopped eating pork rinds pretty quickly.
So what about you, Pat? What did you like? What was like the strongest point for you?
Marketa was right on. I started it to kind of just catch up, but so day 89 is where they start out at, and I like that as well. That's my favorite thing because like shoot, dang, like okay, they had to figure out how. All right, sand will be a good way to damper our footprints, and we got to figure all these things out. And then you see the progression that they have throughout after that as well, because then once they lose the kid, it jumps to 435 days or whatever it is later, and they've advanced even further on how to hide their sounds.
Yeah.
And everything. So yeah, I like that as well, that they started right in the middle.
I think that one for me was just it's a stronger film. Like it looks better, it sounds better, and because it is using sound and like film is pretty much moving pictures and sound together, that it's able to like tell a story in a better way. You know what I mean? Like they can use the sound design, it can use the tension of being quiet like horror movies are supposed to be, because all of that shit is needed to actually tell this story.
Right.
So I think it's like a story that's told in a medium that makes a lot of sense for it. The acting stellar. They got a great cast. It's Emily Blunt and
John
from John Krasinski. You know what I mean? It's pretty much just them two, and then like these two nobody kids, and it's like they're just allowed to kind of like just like shine. And I think it's because John Krasinski. I think he did he write this movie?
He definitely produced it.
Produced it, directed it. I just think that he kind of had a vision, and like they were able to execute very well.
Yeah, they were.
So for me, that's how that one feels. And then since I'm already on it, I'll just say Birdbox. The best parts about Birdbox, I think, was the intrigue. Like Birdbox, after watching Birdbox, I was wondering what it meant. I was like, is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is it that? It's also not on that same point. We'll get to it later, but it's also its downfall for me too. But like just Birdbox kept me thinking and wondering what was happening, how it was happening, and all this. You know what I mean? They raised a lot of questions. And I while watching it, that was the part that I thought was super interesting as we were going on.
Right. Yep.
So, what about you, Age?
Yeah, I was actually my notes for that are theory crafting. Like, was really fun with that movie because they don't give you a lot.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was wondering what that sound was. His computer's having a heart attack.
Oh, I gotcha. It is breathing.
Yeah, let's just scoot this guy right over here by me. All right, keep on keeping on.
Yeah, so I thought one of the parts that was really interesting is when Gary comes in, the crazy dude, right?
Yeah.
And they let him in. He pulls out and starts deciding. He decided to draw. And he pulls out all these illustrations that he's drawn, and all of these various the illustrations. But you're not told whether or not this is what he saw.
Yeah, or is
what's in
this what
his
he's
head,
inspired
or
to
he's
like
crazy,
draw?
right? And seeing some of those really terrifying illustrations, it gives you a lot to play with. Not only that, but Charlie's monologue where he's like, I'm an author, I'm writing about these things, this is the end game, and he starts mentioning off all these demons from various like religious and faiths. So getting all of that, it was really fun to kind of wonder what it was about.
Yep. Katie, what? Get it right in the front of that mic for me.
I've been just thinking a little bit. I just want to go back to The Quiet Place just for a little bit longer.
Yeah, why not?
I feel like Quiet Place is such a good job at like reverting all of the like expectations from a horror movie, where you have a lot of jump scares and screaming, but you can't do any of that. And I just like remembered when the mom stepped.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah.
Yeah.
That all of me and Chris were watching it together in our living room, and we were just like,
Yeah, because watching it, you're trying not to scream either.
Yeah.
I know you like
Yeah.
the movie makes you want to be quiet.
exactly. So we, like you said, with the pork rinds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. But going back to a Bird Box,
Yeah, what did you like about Bird Box?
I enjoyed the movie overall. It was just really well paced for me. I think that I feel like critics were maybe a bit too rough with this movie and compared it to Quiet Place for understandable reasons, but also they could lay off a bit because those are two different movies and still different concepts, where Quiet Place just completely reverses everything you expect from a horror movie, and Bird Box follows it a little more, but also in its own very creative and very nice way.
And I think one thing that I did forget to mention was that Sandra Bullock was acting her fucking ass
Yeah,
off.
she killed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like she brought her A+ game, and
Absolutely.
everybody else was like, even John Malkovich was like, "So I'm phoning this in. This is like B tier shit." And Sandra Bullock's like, "No, dog. Like I'm not here to fuck around. Like I'm going at it."
Yeah.
What about you, Pat?
I like the fact that I know they made it I know the river was kind of a cop out for an easy way for them to get there, but I did like that they used it and how they led us into it with the radio recording.
Yeah.
Like if you have kids, you probably won't make it. And in fact, the kids actually ended up turning out being the ones that helped them make it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, Pat. When you get a little closer to that mic for me.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So the next question is, what is the weakest part of each film? Because I think each film does have its own detriment. I would also like to say that this deep in, we're already 12 minutes in, that the reason why we're comparing these two movies is because everybody's been comparing them, but I do like to, in my head, I see them as their own separate properties. Like they aren't essentially competing in the same arena in my head.
I don't think
They're
so.
two different types of movies. Like Bird Box is almost like a really well done B movie. B as in it was done by Netflix, and like I know Netflix has a lot of money, but like they weren't trying to make a blockbuster while
Right.
A Quiet Place seems like a blockbuster. So that being said, what is the weakest point of each movie for you? And I think we started with other one this time. This time we'll start with Bird Box to get it out of the way, because I want to say the weakest part about Bird Box was just I didn't like their method of storytelling, the jumping backwards and forwards. That for me was a little weird. It felt a little long, and also they didn't stick the landing for me. Like all of it was very interesting, and I thought that when I got to the end, I would be fulfilled with these answers. Not that every movie needs to give that to you. In a movie like Inception, you don't need an answer because that's not the point of the movie.
Right.
And so once we got to the end of this one and we didn't have an answer, it started making me think, then what was the point of the movie? Is it about like motherhood? Is it about like the struggle to like raise these kids and all that? And like, so it doesn't matter what the terror is, then why make the terror something so interesting and so far out there, where one of them seems like a sci-fi horror and this one almost just seems like straight up eldritch fucking horror. Like it's just magic pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And so like, if that was the movie it was going for, then I would have liked that tone a little more. But instead, like people are trying to explain it and they're trying to guess what it is, and then they just don't stick the landing. And I know that didn't bother some people, but for me, I needed that movie to end with a reasonable explanation, or at least show me the fucking monster.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I mean, they don't even explain, like, are the people that don't go crazy and kill themselves, is it just because they're all murderer, like, or homicidal, or is it something else?
They were just saying he was
do
like,
they have the capability to be homicidal? Like, what makes you?
He was like, they were at a mental ward. He was like, yeah, people from the mental ward got out. So then it was also kind of saying something a little icky about like fucking
like,
people with mental issues. Like, what the fuck
yeah,
are y'all
that's what I'm trying
saying?
to say. Like,
It's like, right. Yeah.
And that's not how I think you want to end a movie with like, hey, it seemed like we were saying this about crazy people, but instead we didn't.
But I'm not an expert in mental health in any way, so please don't judge me if I say anything wrong.
I'm not either.
But
I am.
My understanding is that with some mental illnesses, you see stuff.
Hallucinations.
Like you have hallucinations, and perhaps the people who were okay with what was going on, with things they were seeing, is because they
previously had hallucinations,
perhaps not as vivid as this, but it's something that they were used to, as compared to if your brain is balanced. and then you see some
throws you
shit,
off.
you're
Yeah.
just like, okay, bye.
That makes sense.
I read online somewhere that people were like, it's because they were already living without fear, so they had nothing to fear. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, because then how come daredevils of the world?
Yeah,
people
and then
jump
that
off
one
bridges are not
lady,
here?
she reacted to her mom.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
what was so to fear about her mom? She's like, "Don't go, mom."
And even with
maybe
the
the fear of
sister.
losing her mom. Then? I don't
Yeah,
know.
like it's almost like the fears and the way that they were visualized and saw through the people were less of a fear and more of like a temptation.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a temptation
It's
to kill
really
it. Because
weird,
the one lady, the sister, she was just like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah.
Which sounds like a reasonable fucking explanation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like it affected her.
Yeah.
And then with that too, like they show when they show the monsters like kind of affecting the girl, they're invisible. When the monsters start coming for the dude who's watching it, BD Wong, when he's watching it on the TV, it's just like the wind sweeping by.
Yeah.
But then they also show shadows on
Silhouette,
their
yeah.
doors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like
I was gonna bring that
that's
up.
the kind of shit that like I don't know.
The
I also-
inconsistencies.
Yeah.
I also think that another explanation might be that whatever that thing is manifests itself to different people in different ways.
Oh, it's like a bogger.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
definitely like a
Which,
bogger.
yeah, so
that's
like some that other lady saw her mother. We don't know what her sister saw because she just turned really, really sad from being a very optimistic person to the point of wanting to kill herself. So I guess maybe the whatever that thing is manifests itself in different ways to different people when they look at that thing.
Mhm.
I guess it reads minds, and for whatever reason, also probably knows which people are more susceptible
Yeah.
to become its slaves, and which people are just to be dealt with.
So
Yeah, but there seems to be levels of that too. For example, I can't remember the guy at the grocery store, Charlie's friend.
Yeah, Charlie.
Right,
Yeah.
That dude was crazy, but also he had like a script, right?
Yeah,
And he had a really
he went
short
back
script.
to it.
The script was
Same
Come
with-
back- yeah, come help me.
Come help me. I kill you. Come help me.
Yeah, like it sounded like he
Yeah.
was being controlled. And here's the
Yeah.
thing too, is that Charlie described him. He was like, yeah, I mean, he did some time, but like he's an all right guy. Like in the real world, he was fine. He was a fine, normal person.
Right.
So he didn't have the same mental connection with the people from the insane asylum. You know what I
Right,
mean? So
right.
like,
So what's it implying there? Yeah, and at the same time, like the first girl that got infected that you see in the hospital, eyes
yeah.
totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and it's typically what we've seen. It's when the people are killing themselves, their eyes do that thing, and I don't know what it is, but the people who have clear eyes but have also seen it are the crazy ones and capable of. Right, so there's just for me, one of the weakest parts of it was the inconsistencies with how it described the rules of the monster. Like it can't come inside. It has to, like, you have to go to it, or someone has to let it in.
Or you can see it like outside of the vehicle. I'm assuming
Right.
the chick in the hospital saw it like outside on the street.
Yeah.
But then as
Oh
I-
yeah, she was indoors.
yeah.
Right.
But I
So,
mean, she was looking outside, and then with the guy watching it on TV screen, so it's like it manifests past like
Right.
like it's being captured digitally. But
Right.
that's what I'm saying. If they would have just went with it's a sci-fi, it's a fucking scary monster that uses
Right.
like powers from hell, then they could explain away all that shit. You know.
Right.
Well, did everybody? I don't think Pat got a chance to say, or Marketa very specifically got a chance to say what the weakest point for this film was for them.
For Birdbox,
Yeah.
I do agree with AJ that the inconsistencies are annoying as you watch the movie, but I feel like maybe on a second watch you appreciate a bit more because it does lead you in certain ways to ponder on, all the things that you're seeing and trying to analyze. And I did, after watching that movie, I watched one of the I don't know if it was Wisecrack.
Yeah, I think it was either Wisecrack. It was something we watched something about.
Yeah, and that actually made a lot of sense. So like for a person who is knowledgeable in all sorts of mythologies and was able to explain to us different aspects of the movie that connect to a certain
so more like
mythological
what Charlie was
creature.
talking about. It like connected some of
no,
that stuff.
not really.
It was
Not really.
we
hookah.
watched a film theory. It was a
Film
film theory
theory.
on it with Matt Pat, who essentially was like he boiled down, like this guy likes to do a lot of research, and he boiled down all the possible mythical creatures it could be and all of them like Armageddon scenarios it could be, and was like it pretty much sounds like it's this. And that was like super interesting, but it's also not what the filmmakers intended.
But so he
just
did he
assumed that.
use any of the ones that Charlie suggested in the movie?
Yeah, he
Yes.
did, and he
Okay,
also
okay.
disproved them all based on
He
their
did?
own mythology.
Oh, okay.
He was like, so he says it's this, but this thing does this, 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 and that, and you don't see that here. He says it's this, but this thing does this, 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 and that,
that's
and you don't see it here. Yeah,
So the conclusion of that
good.
video was essentially that it's its own thing. Like this is
Yeah.
a new monster, new creature in the world that we don't know nothing about, and somebody was just trying to be creative, and they're
Yeah.
being punished for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Pat, what about you?
It seems like we've covered almost all of them. So if I was just gonna say something else other than that, I really don't have anything other than what we talked about would be the worst.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of everybody's like problem with the movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like
got
the
you,
movie
Pat.
for
They-
as a movie.
one thing that was just literally boiling my blood as I was watching it was the girl who kept running away and being on
Yeah.
her own
Oh my gosh.
in the forest. It was just like, why are you doing that?
Which is because somebody
I
else.
would. I know that this is not allowed and not appropriate, but I would.
You got to sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to protect you here, so I will
Yes.
whoop that ass.
Yeah, I did think it was weird how I'm pretty sure the entire life while they've been growing up,
Yeah,
they have
exactly.
been trained to stick together. Right?
Exactly.
And then you have at the very end in the climax, right? Like they just wander
run away.
off. Like they I don't think they would do that.
No, because they were raised to do the
Yeah.
exact opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they don't know anything else.
A couple other things that bothered me. There are a few dumb decisions. They had a shotgun when that dude was trying to break into the grocery store, and yet Charlie charged out through the door, ended up dying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was dumb.
Yep, yeah. But I mean,
other decision is Olympia let Gary in. Olympia's super naive,
yeah.
and also you didn't feel for her, as in you knew she was already going to die because at the very beginning you saw her with 2 kids, and then you knew she was pregnant with 1
Yeah.
because the doctor says so, and then you see another pregnant lady, and you're like, oh, 1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gonna die,
So
lady.
you already knew she was going to die.
Boy
There
or
was
girl.
no empathy, sympathy there. Also, when it fast forwarded 5 years later to like Tom and what's Sandra Bullock's character's name?
I just been calling her Sandra Bullock.
Okay, Sandra.
Yeah.
Whenever Tom dies, like he gets infected. You see the thing in his eyes. Yet
Yeah.
he was able to self-control his way through still killing that dude and protecting her.
Yeah.
Like, that's a rule breaker for me. You can't do that.
You can't make your own rules and then break
Yeah,
them.
right.
So
Because if the whole thing was, I don't know, if you're strong enough self-control, or if he just loved Sandra because they spent the last 6 years together, or whatever.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, like, why didn't
It would've been
Sandra's
able to keep
sister
other
stop,
people
like,
out,
not
I
try to
think.
kill her as well?
So with A Quiet Place, we're going to talk about essentially the same thing because, I mean, no movie is without its flaws. Pat, what rubbed you the wrong way about Quiet Place?
This one is a little weird, but I think after seeing it again for the second time through, I had some of it answered. But at first, I didn't like how they were I thought that they were more territorial than they were.
Yeah.
So it seems like there were more of them per square mile than I initially assumed. I thought it was just like 1, and I was like, man, these things are incredibly fast. Like they're just so fast for a 4-legged animal. And I know that they're from another world and they have different strengths that we have, but I mean, sheesh, they got there so fast.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, in theory, he could have yelled and just kind of
Ran
stepped
away.
over 2 feet. Yeah, and like they attacked blindly. So
Right.
Or like I was always thinking there could have been a part where like he yells and then the wife yells. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's just like, fuck, well, I don't know which
and put that boy in a pickle like on baseball and running
Yeah.
between third plate and home.
What about you, Keta?
Then you would have another 100 coming in. because
Yeah,
making
well, see,
too
I
much
didn't.
noise.
Yeah, and that's
They
where
never
at the
explained how
end.
many were in the territory though. So
Yeah.
you didn't,
It did
So right at the
say-
end.
Well, it did say on the board, like, confirmed 3. And you do see
okay.
that early.
Well, fair,
you
fair,
do
fair
see that
enough.
early
Okay,
on,
yeah.
but that doesn't mean that's all that there is, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know, there's
so-
got to be more in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
there's
I'm
a
just
lot of the storytelling that's done, like in the newspaper
which
clips.
I didn't
do
know.
like.
Chris was telling me
Yeah,
that there's
it
some
warrants a
hidden
second
stuff.
watch because of that,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is always cool.
I did watch a couple. I can't remember whose YouTube video it was, but it pointed out some really interesting things. Like it's how to survive, like an article, and then
Yeah.
right above it it says racing news or something like that. It's like people are dying. There's this tragedy. Yet there's like an article for people who want their racing stats, like right above
Still
it.
got to get that shit
Yeah,
done.
right.
I mean, it hasn't hit us in Florida
That's
yet, so.
hilarious.
Marketa, what about you? What did you not like about A Quiet Place?
Okay, so I absolutely love that movie, and there are only 2 things that kind of I didn't appreciate first watch, but I think that it's forgivable and it's fine. So the 2 things are The very end, when they finally think about maybe using sound as a weapon.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, well, you see, they have these gigantic ears that literally are their only sense, and you're not trying to think about that. The first, like, that should be your first thing on your mind, trying to beat them like that through the ultrasound or something.
I promise no one like has played games in these universes. Like no one has those problem solving skills. Like they can hear really well.
So I should be super loud. Like any video game, that'd be
absolutely.
like you'd have like a sound gun. Like that'd be the first thing you get.
Yeah, like imagine those little whistles for dogs.
Oh yeah, that would have been terrible for them.
Mm-hmm. That would have been something that would probably like.
Yeah.
Right.
Shit. Right.
So that's one thing that I, and it happened like towards the end. I'm like, well, like, yeah.
they do that. Yeah. It's like, dang, why didn't I think about that too? But.
And then the very, very, very end where it just ended with all of them just coming towards the house after that gunshot. And I just really wanted to see some action, and I wanted to see some ass whipping.
And that's one of the things that throws me off.
I wanted my
too.
revenge, okay? I wanted justice served. Instead, I got end credits.
Yeah. But what made the shotgun that much more impactful to the creature than all those fireworks that was going off?
Yeah.
So how did they?
The fireworks were going off earlier.
But I mean, I'm just saying, no matter what they.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Is that the shotgun blast brought all like the three monsters in the area there when the fireworks should have did the exact same thing.
Well, if you want to think about it this way, maybe they were real far away. Let's say they were real far away. They heard the fireworks. That brought them closer, but it didn't get them
all
close
the way
enough
because they stopped after the
And to be specific, fireworks explode in the air where a shotgun explodes on the ground. So one of those noises is way more localized. You know what I mean? If they heard it, they'd be like, that whatever that sound was 10 feet above me.
Right.
So fuck that sound.
Yeah, exactly.
But like that shotgun.
I gotta get it.
Yeah.
Fuck that sound.
Fuck that sound.
So what about you, AJ?
There's a few inconsistencies. I will say the first time I watched the movie, I hated what's her name?
Emily Blunt. Oh, was it the Reagan?
Reagan, yeah.
Reagan.
There was a couple things that didn't make sense to me. She obviously knew that sound is bad, right?
Yeah.
You see that by looking at her face when she slides over and catches the rocket as it falls off the shelf. Yet, when she's looking at her dad while this is happening. Her dad takes it and like very serious face, just like takes the batteries out.
Yeah.
Right? And then she ends up giving that
the kid the toy.
And like I mean, I just think that was maybe a bit too far. I feel like she would have been smart enough to know, like, that's bad.
Yeah, but she didn't know the kid had the batteries.
Yeah, I get that. It's a little bit of a stretch there maybe for me. I can understand why perhaps that she did that.
Like, I'm willing to chalk that one up to, like, dumb kid thing.
No, I mean, the kid was smart enough to learn. And again, he grew up in a family where she was already deaf, so they all knew sign language beforehand. But he was still smart enough to pick that up. And that's got to be some, that shows some sort of an intelligence to where he would think he would understand. Look, bro, the battery causes this thing to turn on, which causes the sounds to happen, which we don't want. That's why I'm taking the battery out.
The other thing that I have a problem with that whole entire scene too, though, is that who the fuck lets the youngest kid walk in the back?
Well, they got mad at themselves for that, and later on they get mad at themselves.
Yeah,
or the mom does, anyways.
But I mean, like, I don't have kids, and like, if I don't have my inherently, if I didn't have my eyes on something I'm supposed to be taking care of, them, like, you need to be in front of me.
No, absolutely,
right in the middle of the
like
mom
parenting, like one-on-one. Like when Haley and I have the kids, or just I have the kids and I'm in the store, they're not behind me.
No,
like there are lots of reasons why you look at your kids and not away from them, like persistently. It's like parenting 101, instinct 101. I almost want to say.
Yeah, I mean, even if I had like a fucking puppy, I'd be like, puppy, you're in front of me, you fucking idiot. You're a fucking dumb puppy. Like, you're gonna do something silly, and like kids are just waiting to do something fucking silly. Like, fuck absolutely. No, I'm not giving you the chance to fuck up.
Yeah. I mean, they do a really good job at having the characters make stupid mistakes and then like feel for that. Yeah. Because Reagan, like, she hated herself. She did not care about her safety, and definitely showed that through the actions that she took. Now, I was still mad at her. I was like, you being rebellious is getting everyone killed. Stop it. Yeah. But like, she thought she hated her own dad hated her as well, and she blamed herself for the incident. So I get why. Yeah. Like, she acted the way that she did.
So I think the thing that not that I didn't like, and this is something So when I went back and I started doing my research, I found out about all the extra things written in the background and kind of how they do that visual storytelling.
Same.
I don't think, and maybe feel free to get on me. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention when I watched it, but I don't think that I caught all those things the first time around, which is a little weird because I typically catch shit like that. So I wish that, I don't know, maybe it was not super obvious, but just a little bit more. For instance, they don't eat the monsters. Does everybody know this?
Yeah.
The monsters aren't eating people.
You never see blood on their teeth.
They're just killing people because they're
making
used to
sound.
things being quiet. And they're like, that thing's making sound. It needs to be quiet. So it's like the planet that I came from. Also, apparently from a planet with no star.
Yeah, that's.
Like I was
someone
listening
said
to
something like that.
Yeah, and I was like, how the fuck would you know that? Like, did they give
Right.
that explicit information in there?
Yeah, I remember hearing that, but I didn't put it in my notes because like I think they're just theory crafting.
Because I heard it from like several different places. And I don't know if like one person started this or not. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to go back and rewatch the
Yeah,
movie.
there's a
but
lot in the background, like you said.
I get like I want those things. Like I caught the meteor thing like when I watched it,
Yeah.
but I didn't know when it said like they're not eating. It didn't click with me that they're trying to make this planet like their old planet. And I guess I don't want anybody like directly explaining it to me, but I don't know.
Well, when it swats the crap out of the cooking timer,
Yeah,
and that's when you start to realize, it's just attacking sound and only sound. And then they have the raccoons outside the window. And again, this is just because it's so fresh for me. But I don't think I remember seeing what happens to the raccoons. But I can only assume that they get
they
ravaged.
smashed one of them.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's like walking in. You see a hand come out of the cornfield. Like
Oh, yeah,
size.
that's right.
Yeah,
I remember that now.
so
Okay.
they're just like then most all animals got to be fucking dead and
Dead.
shit, man.
Dead as
There's,
shit.
Like,
Yeah.
like all that extra world building stuff. I found it like super interesting and. Just only a handful of things. And I'm only bringing this up because everybody else said the things that I had a problem with the movie with, and I didn't want to be the guy who said the exact same shit. So now I'm nitpicking. Get at me. I just I dug the world building. I wanted more of it.
Yeah.
And I do like the shows that you're supposed to like theory craft afterwards on, but like I don't know. I also like for some of it to be concrete, just some of it. You know what I mean? It was
Right.
But solid fucking sci-fi thriller. So
No, I
but-
love the movie actually. So
Both of them did a good job on some of it, because then again, as Marketa just pointed out with the dog whistle, it's like, but then you think about these things right at the end when they kind of bring it to our attention also. But other than that, I thought they did a good job of some of the adaptations that they had to make in order to make it through.
I thought the
world.
sand was super interesting.
Man, that was
the sand was
smart.
really clever.
And the lights that turned to red.
Yeah.
It was like a very visual. The fireworks trap was good.
Yeah. So,
And having just digging a hole in the basement to go even further.
Yeah, and in that other house, they painted all the squeaky tiles. They said, "Walk here."
Yeah.
and then also too with them being like, we're gonna have a baby. We're gonna put this baby in a box with an oxygen tank. Like,
Yeah, that was clever.
So
And then Birdbox, similar thing.
I had a baby box.
the old bait box. So when Birdbox came out, it got a lot of what I feel like was very unfair.
It was comparison.
Yeah. People, not just comparison. People really shit on that movie. They really shit on that movie hard, and and I don't know why. And we can see that both of the movies do have some incongruities in them, even though Bird Box has a little bit more. Like, why do you guys think Bird Box got like such a bad rap? Was it because like people were like, oh, this is a meme now, and like we love to make fun of memes and shit. Like, let's just go hard on it. Like, what is it, Marketa? You do that. I'm gonna keep this computer from self-destructing.
I think that the main reason for people to have such criticism towards Bird Box is that it came very shortly after The Quiet Place, and even though we've already said that they're both very different movies, they do have this similar
superficial similarities
concept where they just deal with loss of a sense or loss of skill in some way. So I guess that's what people made just go all bonkers on Bird Box, because obviously it is the inferior of the two. But I love both of those movies, and I feel like people just went too far. I don't understand the memes. I don't understand the challenge. I think that's just stupid.
Well, the challenge was dumb as fuck. You know what? People
What's the
should have
challenge?
been-
What's the challenge?
Oh my god! So the Bird Box challenge, people just trying to do dumb shit like
blind.
Yeah.
fucking like
Yeah,
Jake
that's
Paul, the
I don't
ass
like
of the
that kid.
internet.
I
No,
like
nobody
watched the
does.
Rooster Teeth
He
one.
fucking he
don't
tried
like
to like
that
drive his car like down the street or some shit like that. Like, why didn't anybody do the fucking Quiet Place
He
challenge?
needs
they
to
did
do
that
that
like
to beat up.
Talladega Nights when he's trying to drive down the road. Yeah, he's just trying to feel the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish he would have crashed his car though.
That's
Yeah.
the
I
quote
want
of the
that
podcast.
That's the quote. Yeah, do the quiet place challenge and just shut the fuck up. That way you're not doing dumb shit out here. But yeah, it's weird, man. Like people really came down fucking hard on Bird Box, and it kind of didn't deserve it. Like it was a fine movie by anybody else's standards. Like what the fuck, man? Like why is this movie public enemy #1 suddenly?
I do think that the lack of answers might be another reason why, besides like the direct comparison to a fucking one of the top 10 movies of the year. Just the fact that it didn't explain what the monster is, didn't show it, like people want the satisfaction of like the knowledge and visuals, and didn't deliver on that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I liked it, so I don't think I can answer the question.
I will say that it was whatever it was in the Bird Box was like actually scary. Like I know.
Yeah.
So was the thing in The Quiet Place, but you knew what it was.
Yeah.
And you have an understanding of physical things, but this entity is like. Since you don't know the rules, right? It's scarier because it's more unknown.
Yeah.
So I will say, yeah.
I mean, it resembles so much of that. It's called a boggart, right? In Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It's
just
a boogeyman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like you dogs. I mean,
It is a
you made a good movie out of
psychological-
it. But.
Yeah, I just maybe it's because like man, like just like I think if they'd have just went the hard horror.
Yeah.
And like instead of they were fucking around with almost sci-fi, almost if they had just went hard horror, and like they don't even have to show any gruesome shit.
Right.
If they just would have changed the tone, maybe changed the music, maybe like give a couple of glimpses or something, man.
Okay,
like if
but-
they'd have done that, maybe. But then it's not the same story.
So
Yeah.
you just wanted like a supernatural movie?
No, just because like with the rules that they were setting forth for the monsters, that
Yeah.
like I tried to make them make sense.
So
and
it was
since they
like-
weren't making sense to me,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, just make it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, okay, so I feel like in Bird Box, the entity or the monster was like demonic.
Yeah.
It was possessing people and making them do something that they don't want to do, or make them see something they don't want to see. So coercion, and I.
So you think that there was only one monster in Bird Box?
Market, your microphone is moving so much. You're talking right in the side.
I am sorry.
Oh, you're good. Let me tighten that up for you.
It's fine.
It gets unloose every week. There you go.
Because now you got me
What was
wondering.
I
I wasn't
saying?
even sure if it was
You were-
one.
Is it one monster that you call them entities? So like, is it you think it's like a handful?
You thought it was
of-
possessing, so do we see more than one person kill themselves
I
at a
kinda
time? I
thought-
think you might be right. You only see it seems like one person killed himself at a time.
It wouldn't be able to affect the whole country if it only
Yeah,
did one.
you saw people
Yeah.
like as it swept down the street.
Yeah.
You saw
Yeah.
people doing
One
dumb
thing
shit.
at a time. Yeah, so it's like swoops in you. It makes you have something, and then it swoops out.
I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
my understanding, I think the closest example I can give would be the Demogorgon from Stranger Things, where Will was the only person to be able to see it, really, and then 11.
Yeah. So like something. That's what I'm.
Like the
Yeah,
big one,
I
you
got
know,
you. Yeah.
not the.
Yeah,
Not
if they
the
would have
small
just
ones.
gave me like it's an interdimensional being, like I don't. That's what I, like. That's
Yeah,
what I need it from them.
but where I was going with this is that you expect a certain like for them to follow a certain format that's been established. But what I think they were doing with Bird Box is they were like literally showing how if this actually happened in real life, this is what it would look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They weren't like, "Ooh, spooky."
Yeah.
They were just like, no, this shit's happening like this, and this is how you act. Like you have blindfold, you drive down the street, driving over corpses.
Yeah.
You
So-
get
What they were in? They mentioned that it was happening in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So then, what state were we in?
Was it like Washington State or something? I can't remember what state it took place in. Oh no. They talked about it. They were talking about Sacramento was kind of close, so it's like
Yeah,
Northern
in
California.
I actually don't remember.
So that if it was one thing,
It
it,
was
made
in-
quite a travel.
Yeah.
wasn't it in California?
It
Like,
looked
I think it was like Northern
and
California.
Felt like California.
Yeah.
I just don't remember.
I do agree with what AJ said though. Like Bird Box is actually scary. Like it was scary,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I just maybe it feels a little more scarier. I don't know, man. I don't know why people. I think people may have had a hard time with it, and this is why it became such a butt of a joke, because they didn't know where to put it. Like it doesn't submit itself to really be in exactly any category. It's not quite sci-fi. It's not quite a thriller. It's not quite a horror movie. It's a little bit of all of them, and people probably were just like, I don't know. And I think maybe that's the thing that rubs people the wrong way sometimes.
I mean, I also think that it's easier to make fun of Bird Box because the tropes that you have to do in the movie are more replicatable.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to make a meme out of The Quiet Place, you just have to be quiet. But the blindfolds, right? There's so much you can do with that meme-wise.
Yeah.
And they do a lot with the format. The format is more memeable. So I would say that there's more there for those people to actually make fun of. Also, like what Marketa said earlier, where it did come after Bird Box, or it did come after The Quiet Place, is, I think, the most significant part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think people know, and I didn't until I did my research, because I made the same mistake. Like,
That you
wow,
thought
this is
one
just,
of them ripped the other one off.
Exactly,
Not
but
at all.
the book already existed before.
Yeah,
it even existed.
Right? Yeah, and
me
I
too.
didn't actually know that, and I made false assumptions, and I judged it unfairly because I assumed that right.
I mean, that'll happen if you don't know. I didn't know.
Came out before The Happening came out, and it's a lot like The Happening. Yeah, that's a
Damn, that
nice
book came
butt.
out before The Happening?
Yeah.
Who was
Right,
slipping
yeah.
on the Bird Box? Somebody messed up for the Bird Box.
Yeah,
That
right.
could've
Because if it would have came out, like, if somebody read it and they're like, oh, we're going to put some money towards this, it would have fucking beat out A Quiet Place.
Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
it wasn't the trees at
Yeah.
the very least. They did follow the same rules though. Like, it can't come in your house. The
Yeah.
windows are protecting you, but
Just-
even
Like,
blankets
that's what I'm
protect
saying.
you.
Like, what kind of entity is it where it can't come in the house?
Yeah,
I don't know, because old girl saw it from outside the window in the
So,
hospital,
here is the last question. But before that, guys, if you've been wondering, the sounds you've been hearing playing in the background, I've been playing clips from The Quiet Place the whole entire time. So I'm going to play one more clip from The Quiet
What?
Place. Here we go. Final clip from A Quiet Place. Yeah. It's my favorite part of
This
the
is
movie.
the part where he's really telling them not to do anything.
Yeah. He's signing very hard in this part.
You're dumb.
Are you fucking with me right now?
This is when he's putting the baby in the box for the first time, guys.
Yeah,
Right here.
everybody knows. So with that being said, we're on to the last part.
Is that real? Did that happen?
It's happening, man. What were...
Should have had like running water for when it was like draining
Oh,
down
yeah.
there.
So for this last part, I just want to talk about themes, and essentially, we can't discuss what the monsters are, but we can discuss what they meant. So, is the theme of Bird Box, is it about only survival? Is it about this fear? Is it about this anxiety? Is it about being worried about the future? What is it about? And also not Bird Box. What's the other movie? What's the other film? A Quiet Place. Quiet Place is.
Yeah.
I think that one's really just about like survival in this nuclear family.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the last question. We're discussing what's it about? What does it all mean? What do these monsters mean for humanity? With that being said, AJ, you want to take us off?
It's kind of. What do the monsters mean? I mean, I know what the movie, I feel like, tried to possibly
then
make
tell
it
me.
mean.
Tell me.
Maybe I don't know how to put it into
So
words.
I'll give it a try.
struggling
Bird Box, I think maybe it's about fear, right? Maybe these things represent fear, and it represents how humans react to that fear, and it's also at the same time about this journey of motherhood where she's like, I'm not ready to be a mom, and now I got these two kids to take care of, and maybe she's fearful.
Which would be a
and
great
she's-
fear, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I-
she's worried about it, and so
Do
maybe
you think the monsters represented motherhood? I
No,
know
I think-
the movie
no,
tried to.
the
not
the monsters represent like fear, and I think for Sandra Bullock, that fear is her fear of motherhood and shit.
Yeah.
She was such a loner, and now she has to take care of these. Two
Did she
kids,
do in
you know?
vitro?
A boy and girl.
No.
She
Oh
got
boy,
knocked out.
yeah. Oh
She
boy
did get
ran
knocked
off.
up?
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
that.
okay. I
Fuck
didn't
boy.
remember that part.
And I think that it would be a fear of the unknown because you can't see it.
Fair enough.
Ah.
You can't see the
Yeah,
future of the child
yeah.
and everything like that.
I like the way
Good
that
job.
sounds. The fear of the unknown does make sense.
Got
So, anybody got anything else? You don't just think it's like literally God being like, y'all fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that was such a rash, like random comment that I don't think it's actually what they thought. Like when the dude was like demons, endgame, world. Like I think he was riffing. It doesn't actually feel like they were there to judge humanity because there was no judging. It was just like everyone died.
Yeah.
Everyone got killed.
Yeah.
Like
no,
there
actually,
was-
judge.
there was no
other
judging.
than-
Everyone, I don't care if you were good, you're bad, you saw it, you died.
Yeah. So, fun fact too, in the book, when they get to the school for the blind and they're being saved, they make everybody gouge their eyes out.
Yeah.
What?
What? They should have done that for the movie.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I think so.
In the book, when they're like, hey, you definitely are able to live in this community, first things first, you got to gouge your fucking eyes out.
Right. Yeah.
Would you do it? I mean, it's the apocalypse. I guess you don't have a choice.
How do they know that I didn't do it?
Well, I think they watch you do it, or they probably have a guy.
Or what
How
if you
does
just
that
say-
guy get the ability to be the one that gets to keep his eyes?
Pat, he's just going to poke you in the eye and feel that
that's
it's
true.
wet and be like, oh, that's not a scar. Let's put a scar there.
I'm just gonna
Probably.
put wet toilet paper there. Look
That's
at
10 times scarier than cutting out your own
That
eyes
is
as
true,
a blind
though.
dude doing it.
Also,
If he did poke me in the eye,
I don't know why.
Like, ugh. What if it's a... Yeah.
They had a lot of comments on like mental illness and stuff,
Yeah.
and people who had handicaps. Why is the blind sanctuary at the end of a river in the middle of the forest?
Stop it. Stop.
But
There's so many more questions.
But I got it. I got to do it.
I mean, yeah, the other question is how come it's outside and like the aliens
warm.
can't get in?
They can't get through wooded foliage roofs.
Yeah, because the birds are like what the fuck? Like
Yeah.
when they come, do the birds just screaming and everybody closes their eyes? Like what happens, dude? Like there's so many questions.
Maybe
but
they don't like birds.
so then in A Quiet Place, I guess that the ending would have just, or not the ending, the monsters, they represent like this encroaching threat. They're an invasion, and it's just about survival. Like the whole entire movie, this family, they already lived on a farm, so they're able to like do their thing and survive. You know what I mean? They were able to light up the like beacons, and you could see other beacons lighting up. You're like, all right, some other communities or some other like families managed to survive, and like they all got to do these things to survive. That one,
Except for that those old people that they ran into. I think it was funny.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first time he took his son out, he's like, all right, Marcus, we're going to go out in the woods. I'm going to teach you the way. The first time
Yep.
he took his son out, old man, dead wife. Like, man, he's like, I'm never going out there again, Dad. I know that you're trying to teach me to be a man, but it's never going to happen. Like, like
But yeah. So you think there's any other themes to the movie, A
The
Quiet Place?
The Quiet Place.
Yes.
Love transcends death.
Survival. That's it. I
Yeah.
think.
So they're kind of thematically like simple movies. I guess that's what you really want to do when you have such like big scary beasts and whatnot.
See, yeah, that's why I think like Birdbox definitely had more potential because it allows you to think about it a little more.
Yeah.
You know, like I guess in Quiet Place you can strategize and you can be like, okay, if I was in his shoes, this is what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
But in Birdbox, since it's so intangible,
Right.
you don't know. Like you're just constantly asking questions. You're trying to understand something that's not to be understood.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, and I do think that it definitely like portrays anxiety because sometimes for no reason you're just afraid of something and you just overthinking and you're making it bigger than it is and don't not realizing that it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that Bird Box, like it, I understand that it's the inferior of the movies, but like I don't understand why they're being compared.
Yeah. They're kind of. I think they're in two different leagues.
Yeah.
Well, what would you guys do to survive in Bird Box?
Oh, in Bird Box?
Yeah. Would you just, now that you know that gouging out your eyes is a game plan? I mean, would you just be like, yeah, I'm going blind. I'm just gonna be. That's it. Blind forever.
No, because I still like the advantage of when I do get into whatever secure place that I'm somewhat secured about,
Yeah.
that I could still have my eyes. But
Yeah.
shit, it does make you want to practice the clicking echolocation thing that people can do where they go, and freaking.
I think I'd go straight duct tape.
I feel like losing your like eyes is literally like giving up one of your freedoms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's hard to give up. I don't think I would.
So what you gonna do to survive then in Bird Box? You're just gonna bandage it up and try to make your way around the world and not sing when you're out. Like, what's your survival plan? We're talking apocalypse here. What's your game plan?
Practice echolocation.
I don't know. Like I would try to understand what that thing is. Like try to get in touch with different, like the radio.
Yeah.
Try to get in touch with different people. See what they came up with.
So you can fight back.
Yeah.
Somebody may have uncovered a shade of glasses blocking it that you may be able to look out through. Or something.
Honestly, I think I'd rather die than gouge my eyes off.
Adrian, what about you?
Well, I will tell you the first thing I would do is find something better than a damn blindfold. Something that easily, someone can easily pull off. Like, I don't know, get a motorcycle helmet, put duct tape on the glass, and you're like, oh, I see the wind. I can't see nothing now. Like, no one can like rip a motorcycle helmet off like that easily. Not like a.
I was thinking maybe like welder's mask.
that too. But you still can't see anything.
I know, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying you just like have your motorcycle helmet on and be like, oh, the wind's blowing.
Yeah, exactly. And then now you're completely blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it's better than a blanket. You know, it's definitely better than a blindfold.
Well, I think this apocalypse.
Well, I guess it depends on what you're doing too. Like if you're hiding in the woods, I mean, they don't seem to touch you or mess with you, so you don't necessarily need a blanket. But if you are cold outside, I'd have my blanket versus a helmet.
I wouldn't use a blanket for like blinding myself reasons. That's all.
Just to like walk around and everything like that. Yeah, no.
Well, I hate to tell people my end of the world plan, but oh well. So here it is. Step one, shit's going down. Get my blindfold game on. But step two is make it to an Amazon warehouse.
Well,
there's a lot of shit in Amazon warehouses.
The
step
problem
three
is a lot of people are heading there though, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
in the grocery store.
We're all gonna be like blind though, and just kind of feeling around each other. It's gonna be like, oh my god, what am I touching? That's pretty much the best I got.
Yeah, I would say most apocalyptic scenarios, I'm like big boat. But this one, I don't think I'd want to be on a boat.
Oh, a cruise ship would be nice.
Would it?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just thinking about like taking an actual cruise.
It's like a mall on the water. You know what I mean?
Also, we never even talked about the Birdbox.
Oh yeah, the
birds.
actual birds in the box, the titular bird box, if you will.
You mean like the super necessary name where the birds had so much to do with the actual story and what was happening?
Well, I mean, so
that was sarcasm.
Is there any reference to birds in the Bible?
No, I think that might be more of a reference to miners. So when you dig a mine, canary. You bring a canary down there because if there's a gas leak or if you're running out of, if there's too much CO2, then the bird will die before all the humans start dying.
Yeah, but the birds can sense the creature coming.
Yes, birds of paradise.
Apparently they can see it, maybe even or something.
I will say that there was like parallels between.
They sensed it in the guy.
Yeah, and the crazy guy.
The crazy guy.
But they didn't sense it until
they didn't sense it in Gary though.
That's what. No, until Gary started opening up doors and acting crazy. Yeah. They didn't know it was in Gary until he started showing that prop. Just fucking.
I think that they like shrieked a little bit when he just came.
He didn't do anything to him until he put him in the refrigerator.
Yeah, and then
which was crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, well maybe I don't remember that well, but what I was trying to say is that I don't know if there is a biblical reference to birds, but I know that in Quran there is Muslims believe that the birds will prevent like the first apocalypse or something like that coming from heaven.
Really?
So like the birds will just flock and like create like a cloud that would just push it away.
Interesting.
So, like,
that'd be kind of badass.
Yeah, like Muslim people love birds for some reason, for this particular reason. So like you will see. When I was in Turkey, like everybody was just feeding pigeons, and I'm like,
gotcha. I mean, I love birds too.
Okay.
Particularly,
but it's super adorable.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, guys, I think that kind of brings us to the end of our time. So,
what's the outro song?
We have a cool outro.
I'm sorry, the outro. I haven't made it an official outro song. I've been making a lot of songs. So, that being said, guys, this is the Talking Normies podcast. We talked about Birdbox and also A Quiet Place. Also, this one wasn't live. You probably noticed that. Let us know what you think about all of this. Get down in the comments.
Me and Chris are on vacation right now.
We are. Let's have a discussion about this. All right, y'all. Bye.
Peace.